Hello everybody, welcome to another Blender video. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to make this entrance gate from Far Cry 4. I'm going to leave in the description the two images I'm using as references. One of them is original artwork from the game itself. I think it is concept art. And the other one is a render which I actually made a couple of months ago where I had a practice of making this object already. And I thought it was a good idea to make a video out of it because it's not too difficult, but it looks quite good. And I think it would be quite helpful to some people trying to learn Blender and especially environment art. So for this, I'm just going to start with a basic cube. I'm going to bring it up to the level at the top here. I'm going to scale it down, and this is just going to be a kind of base on the bottom where the two pillars are going to start coming up. So I'm going to bring it over this way. And for all of this, I want to use a mirror modifier, so it always happens on the other side as well, whatever I'm doing over here. I'm just going to press I to insert a face, something like that, and then just lift it up until I get like a kind of a bit larger than a square, something around about that. So it's a little bit further along the top, so it's not just a perfect kind of cube shape. Then I'm going to insert again and scale this up again, just a little bit taller than a basic cube would be. And for this particular part, I'm going to be looking at the reference image that I made, not the reference image from the original concept art, because it's a little bit hard to actually see everything as it's quite far away from the camera. So I just prefer to go off of my render from before. Then I'm going to drag it in again a little bit, just drag it up. This time I will make it a bit more of a cube kind of shape, something around about that. Then bring it in one more time. I'm going to go up again, bring it in again, up again. And that can be it for the two sides here. Now the top is a little bit more complex than the bottom part. I'm just going to apply the mirror, and if I select this face and this face and then shift S cursor to selected, anything I add will spawn kind of right in between these 2 points. So if I add a cube, it appears right there, which makes everything nice and easy. I'm going to start by just adding some planks that are going to be going along the top here. I'm going to do that by making a plane, just scale it up a little bit. I might even bring these two objects in a little bit because I think they're a little bit too far at the moment. So if I just delete this part, bring this over like this, then add a mirror again, I think that looks a little bit better. So I'm going to apply this, now go back to the planks here, and I kind of want to make it so it's a nice little gap, kind of like this amount on either side. So if I scale this in a bit, yep, something like that. Now to actually make the planks kind of shape, I'm just going to add maybe, we'll go with three edge loops in here. And I need to separate all these objects. So what I like to do is select two that are kind of apart from each other, click P, selection, and select it again in edit mode, and just go loose parts. You have to do the same over here, loose parts, and now each of these objects are kind of their own separate piece. If I select all of them, go into edit mode, select everything, then just extrude it up, maybe like this much, not too much, otherwise it's not really going to look like an actual plank shape. Then I can just add a bevel to this one here. I like to keep all the numbers nice and even, so I'm going to go at a nice 0.2. I select everything else, select this guy last. I can just copy modifiers, that is control L, copy modifiers. If I shade smooth, you get a nice planks kind of look here. And I'm also going to add some kind of supporting planks going across the middle this kind of way, as that is what I did in the original render I made, and I think it kind of makes sense because it looks like it's just extra supports holding the whole top section up here. So to do that, I'm just going to add a basic cube in edit mode. I'm just going to bring it over here to make it easy. I'm going to line it up with this thicker white line here. We bring it in something like this, and I just need to make the shape more of like an actual plank. So I'm going to go down, bring this one across like this, something like that. That might be a bit too big, just bring it up like that. And I'm actually going to bring it even further in because I want to have more going along, something like this. You can add the array modifier to have it going across this way. It's going to make this like a 1 point. I'll figure out what looks nice later. First I'm just going to add a bunch more, maybe something like this. I'm not really going to do anything to measure this section and this section perfect. I'm just going to kind of look at it and hope I get it relatively perfect. Doesn't need to be that perfect anyway. No one's going to come in and make sure the dimensions of everything are perfect. Then I think I kind of want it to be a little bit thicker than the planks above it. So just something like that. If I apply the scale, then add a bevel to sections and segments, and then just bring it down a bit. Shade smooth, something like this. I think that looks quite nice. Now again, it's kind of hard to see in the original artwork, but in the version that I created, I've just added poles of wood on top of this section going all the way along. So we'll do that now, and I'm going to move my cursor again to make everything a bit easier. I'm going to select these two top faces here and just do the same as before, bring cursor to selected like that. And if I add probably a cube will be easiest again, go into front mode, in edit mode, just drag it over, and if I go S for scale, shift Y, I can scale in all the axes apart from the Y axis, so that basically gives this look. I can bring this down a bit. I think I want it to be around, say like here, not like perfectly to the end. just like in between kind of the distance between this point and this point here, something like that. I'm going to make it a bit longer on this side as well, and maybe a bit smaller, something like that. Then same as before, I can add an array, bring this up a bunch, bring it over this way, back into front mode. Then I can just line this up nicely. I think I kind of want more because this is meant to be like a main support and it's going to be holding up a lot, so it makes sense to have quite a lot of pieces. It's maybe like 14, I think looks pretty good enough. Maybe I'll bring it up one more, 15. Yeah, like that. I'm just going to measure this again, try and make it nicely in the middle, around about that. If I apply the scale and add a bevel again, come in here, do the same thing as always, 2 segments and a really small amount, apply this, shade it smooth, that's alright. Then I kind of added a bunch of sort of log shapes going along the top here now. So to do that, I'll probably add a simple plane going over the top here, so the logs are actually sitting on that plane, because I think right now if I was to add it would look a bit weird, because this would be like, why are they not falling into the holes here? So to make that easier, I'm not going to do anything about moving the cursor because this is using an array, so it's a bit hard to I'll have to apply the array and I don't really want to do that just yet. So I'm just going to add a plane, bring it up to around about this much. Then I also want to make the plane come out a bit more on the y-axis, so it looks like it actually gets bigger the further the structure goes up. So if I bring this out on the y just a little bit like that, I'll just add a bit more and more each time. It'll gradually just get bigger and bigger to make sure this is nice in the corner here. Yeah, like that. I'm also going to do that on the left and right hand side as well. So obviously the starting point is here, then it comes out a bit, then it's going to come out even more here. So if we go into edit mode, bring this up, which is something really small like that, just for these logs to sit on. Then as usual, add a little bevel, something like that. Now I can put my cursor to select it up here. For the cylinder, I instantly want to make it not so high poly, because they're pretty small objects and no one's going to really look that much at them. So probably around about 16 will honestly be good enough. So if I move this over by 90, bring it up a little bit, just so it's kind of touching the face beneath. Then if I switch to 3D cursor, I can go S, Shift, Y, and then I can drag it down nicely. And I want to make it a similar size to the planks below these onto here. So something like this amount, yeah, something like that. Then for the Y, I'll just bring it out again, make it a little bit bigger on this side as well. That looks cool. So I'm going to drag this over this way. I think I'm going to have this bottom point sitting right on the edge here, something like that. Then I can add my array, and this time I want to keep everything nicely touching, just like that. Let's scroll in. I'm going to need to add a tiny bit of distance between them, literally like, yeah, that's going to be perfectly fine. I was going to make it really specific, but it doesn't matter too much. So there we get this. I'm going to shade smooth and add our bevel, 2 segments and a really small amount, just like that. Shade smooth. Obviously there's this kind of weird shading here, which I can easily get rid of by adding a weighted normals, and that looks better. Now I think I'm going to add something similar to what I've done down here with this kind of just basic cube that's really stretched out going along here. So I'm just going to Shift D to duplicate, bring it up this way, make sure it's nicely touching there. Then once again I can bring this out a little bit so it's just over the edge of the log. If I scale on the Y, something like this, and also scale in the X like that. I'm probably just going to make it meet the point down here, something like that. Always apply scale as well. I'm probably just going to bring this up again and kind of have another ledge sticking out. So if I just extrude, I want to kind of make it similar amount to the one below. Then I'm going to go Alt left click, so I can select this whole set of faces here. Then if I go Alt E, extrude faces along normal, then I'm going to hold Shift to control it a bit more. I can bring this out a little bit, just like that. Then I'm going to go offset even, so everything's nice and even. Just going to bring it down a little bit as well. I want to make it like a really small amount, just like that. Apply scale. And yeah, that's looking nice. And I'm actually going to add even more to this kind of pattern, as I've done that in the original render, and I think that looks quite nice. So I'm going to bring it up on this face that's kind of smaller, and then bring it up again. Then I'm going to go once again, select this set of faces, extrude. This time I'm going to make it even bigger than the original one. Offset even. Don't want to do it by too much, so maybe something like that. And yeah, that looks alright. Then this bit gets a little bit more kind of complicated up the top, because it's like frames and like kind of V-shaped roofs and things. I'm probably going to start with the actual first kind of roof. There's sort of like 2 roofs, as you can see in the render image and the concept art. So I'm going to start with everything up here. So Shift S, cursor to selected, while I've got this face selected here. And then to make the original shape that I can work on, I'm just going to add a plane, scale it out to the amount I want. I kind of want it to come out a little bit further than everything else, something like this. Then I'm going to add 1 edge loop in the middle, drag it up a bit, around about that much, select everything, and just drag it out. I kind of like this shape. So all I really need for this one is just a bit of thickness. So if I just go solidify, I kind of want it to come up. So I'm going to set the offset to 1, even thickness. And then if I just add this much, around about that. And now I'm going to apply this. Then I'm going to select these faces and I'm going to go Shift D to duplicate. Now it's kind of moved about. So if I go right, it will set back to its original position. And now this is a separate object. Let me just make sure by going to this, just to make sure it's an actual different object. So as you can see, I've got another one here now. Apply scale. And then I'm going to add a solidify again. so even thickness 1, and I'll explain why I did that in a minute. Then just drag this up a little bit, kind of similar amount to what I've got down here. That's like a little bit less. I think it was 0.8, the first one I did. Yeah, like that. Then before I apply the solidify, because I don't really have to do it yet, I'm going to go into edit mode. I'm going to switch this off here so you can actually see what I'm doing. Then I'm going to add something like, say this can all be done in texturing, but I'm just going to choose to do it in the actual geometry because I just prefer to do it like that way at this stage. I'm going to add something like 50 edge loops. So then when I've got everything selected, I'll go Control B to bevel, drag it up a bit, then scroll the mouse wheel up a little bit, and I can add one segment here. If I press, I can go through and select this edge loop all the way across to the other side. Make sure you're holding Alt so you're selecting the whole thing. It's kind of hard to see what I'm selecting, so I'm going to quickly go up here and just turn this plane off. Now I can see everything a little bit easier. Now that I have got everything selected, I'm going to bring that plane back, and I'm just going to go G, Z, bring it up like that amount. And if I go out of edit mode, you can see the kind of look it gives. It's giving a kind of not sure what this type of roof is called, like slanted ridges kind of thing. And I think it just looks a little bit more interesting. So it looks like I've got this kind of support piece down here to hold it all up. And then this piece to actually kind of make rain and stuff like fall down and not get stuck on the top here. Now one easy piece I'm just going to add while I'm here. I'm going to apply the solidify modifier because I can do that now. I'm going to select this whole edge, go cursor to selected. I'm just going to add like a plank going all the way across, so that's just going to be a simple cube. I'm gonna make this really small and then just bring it all the way to the end, just like that. Can even go and make like a cool pattern here, which I'll do just because why not. I haven't done this in the original render and it's not really there on the concept art, but I'm just going to do it because why not. It might be fun, might look cool. I'm gonna extrude this, and I've added a mirror modifier so it happens to the upper side. Extrude this, I'm gonna bring it up a bit, maybe scale, maybe rotate a bit, and extrude again, increase scale again, rotate, bring it up a bit. I'll go one more. Might be nice looking making it smaller. I think actually no, I'll just keep making it bigger. Something like this. I think I've done it a bit too much though, so let's just scale them down a bit, bring it down, bring the rotation back a bit, something like that, just to add like a bit more of like a unique shape. Could look cool. I'm not the biggest fan, but I'm gonna keep it anyway because, you know, why not. Now this is kind of floating, so you can't really see it in either of the reference images, but I imagine there would be a kind of what's it called, like a frame in the middle here. So I'm gonna go back to this piece and select my face here and set cursor to selected. Now to make the frame, firstly I'm just gonna build it with a simple plane. So I'm gonna add this, zoom into it. It's a little bit hard to see what I'm doing, but if I click R, Y, 90, now the plane is actually facing the correct way. Kind of scale this in a bit, and we need one to be up the top here. I'm going to make it just about sitting inside of the geometry here, something like that. And then I'm going to duplicate this, bring it down. In edit mode, I'm going to drag it across to the left so I can then go mirror and bring it over this side. And then if I just bring it nicely, like, probably makes sense to have it around about here, so at least it's kind of touching both sections and it actually makes sense with how it's kind of holding it up. And I can just apply the mirror, make all these guys one object. If I select this guy and this guy, I can just press F to add a face in between them, just like this. Now right now I think it's kind of the faces along this top bit are too small compared to the bottom bit, so I'm just going to grab these vertexes, S, Y, drag them in a little bit, and yeah, that looks a little bit better. So if I go grab everything in edit mode, and I'll go into wireframe mode to see what I'm doing, G, X, bring it along to around about here, I'd say, maybe just sitting against this point pretty nicely, around about that much. I can now go extrude, and it will automatically extrude along the normal, so that works perfectly fine. I'll make it something like that kind of shape, like a nice chunky kind of frame here. Now I'm going to add a mirror, and if I go to the Y, no, the Z axis, I now get that frame over this side. So I can apply the mirror, grab this guy, turn around, grab the same section on the other side, F3, and I'm just going to go bridge edge loops, select the top bit, look at the other side. If I go Control R to redo last action, I can just bridge edge loops that way, Shift R again, and now we have a nice frame that's holding the whole thing up. So I'm just going to apply the scale and a bevel. I'm going to go Shift H to hide everything else to see what I'm doing now, because I might get some weird shading issues on this object. Shouldn't be too hard to fix if I do. If I just bring it down, shades move. It's actually ended up alright. You can always make it a bit better with weighted normals anyway, then it all looks very nice. So Alt H, bring everything back. I also need to add the bevel here, so I'm going to apply the mirror, delete this, apply the scale, and bevel. 2 segments, small amount, shade smooth. Cool, we have that. So now there's also like another kind of roof above this one. So instead of remodeling all of it again, I'm just going to select both, duplicate, bring it up on the Z axis to around about, say like there. And then to make sure I'm going to scale nicely in the correct kind of position, I'm going to select this bottom roof piece, go into edit mode, select this edge, then go cursor to selected. I can select both these guys again. I can go up here to my transform pivot point as 3D cursor, and I can just scale inwards, and it's going to scale correctly. So let's look at the front first, scale like that, probably around about this much. There, I don't really need to worry too much about the sides because it's already scaled correctly anyway. So obviously, again, we have the same problem. This is floating. To fix that, I'm going to set my pivot point to this top of the kind of plank here, and this is quite easy to make. I think I've literally just put, and in the original reference as well, it's literally just two kind of, or 4 cubes either side here. So I've added a cube. I'm going to go into wireframe mode. It's a little bit hard to see everything now, but in edit mode, I'm going to drag it over this way. I'm going to go Shift Control Z, Shift Z, scale it down this way, and now we're going to hide everything else so I can actually see just the top bit, just like that. So now if I go to the underneath view, I can kind of make it a nice round about here, so it's nicely in the corner. Then grab the top. I'm going to grab these vertexes, drag them down. These ones, drag them up, so it's nicely fitting in here. I can delete this face, so I don't need to worry about that later. Same with this face, because I'm not gonna, that's gonna be hidden inside the other meshes. Alt H to bring everything back. Add a mirror modifier. I want it on the Z and the Y axis. And now this top bit is kind of being held up by some planks. And there's also one more plank in the middle here, which I'm going to add, but first I need to make sure these guys aren't poking through. So I'm just going to bring this up to around about here, bring these down. Yep, that works pretty good. Now it's a bit hard to tell what the shape is in the middle, but it looks like a kind of, like a just a square going up. It also looks quite cylindrical, which is a bit weird. It's a bit hard to tell with the lighting and everything. So I'm just going to grab, we're just going to grab another cube and just use that. So if I just go scale it inwards like this, kind of want it to be going a bit further than this original plank here. Grab this one, bring it up. Might need to add another edge loop here, so I have that vertex that can sit nicely in here. Bring these down, select the top faces and the bottom faces, delete them. Just going to make sure this is nice and hidden as well by putting these vertexes in between this line and this line, and this one same in between this line and this line. Basically just making sure it's hidden and not sticking out. So now we have this kind of look. And there's one more thing. I also realized I made a mistake up here. I did just see it. It's really hard to see. So here you can see it. As you can see, I've made a mistake with these kind of ridges popping up here. I'm not going to bother fixing that because it is not really the end of the world, and it also kind of makes it look a lot more not as symmetrical, which I kind of like. But you know, if you were working on this kind of asset for like a client or something, it's probably going to be worth going back and fixing that. But because this is for a simple tutorial, I'm probably not going to bother doing that. But yeah, just in case you make the same mistake, look out for that. It's an easy thing to do. So now there's like this weird kind of decoration cylinder golden thing popping out the top. I have no idea what it'd be called, but I'm just going to quickly model that. It's fairly basic shape. If I just grab like a cylinder, and I'm going to bring it back up to 32 sides, or maybe like 24. We'll do 24 and add like a subdivision to it. So bring this up, make sure it's quite thin. Just drag it up here so it's actually sitting inside where you can't see it. Yeah, that'll be fine. So I'm just going to kind of model this based off of the version that I made, because it's really hard to tell what it actually is in the reference image from the original game. So it's a bit of a strange shape, but it's basically just going to be extruding and scaling and just doing a bunch of that. So we're going to start dragging the whole thing down a bit, just like this. And it's kind of got these points sticking out, so I'll just do that simply, then go back up here, then kind of extrude it out. Do this really quick because it's not going to be the end of the world if it doesn't look that great. So just bring this up a little bit, up again. Scale it up, then up a bit, up this way, drag it down. Then it's got like one more thicker bit at the top, so I'm just going to go like this, up again, and smaller. Something like that. Looks a bit strange, but that's okay. I'm just going to grab these sections here, extrude them like this much. Then I'm just going to add a subdivision modifier at 1 level and shade it smooth. If I want to make anything more sharp, any edges, I can add a bevel. I'll do that in a minute. Firstly, I want to delete this bottom face though, and kind of want, a bit hard to tell, but I want this bit. It's really hard to grab this one, and I'm going to turn this off for now because it's making it really annoying. Then this one and this one, grab this one, and then if I just add a simple smallish bevel, 2 segments, shade smooth again, it's just made those sections that I want to be a bit more sharp. I'm also going to do it here as well, so just like that, shade smooth. Yeah, I think that looks pretty cool. It might be a bit too big or a bit too small or anything, so I'll zoom out and have a look. It actually looks okay, so I'm happy with this just as the original shape. However, there's one thing that I forgot to add, and that's these little signs up here. So I'm going to go to this section, select the cursor to selected. I always forget what that's called, but for the sign, it's just kind of like a rounded flat cube, so I'm just going to add a cube there, scale it in on the Y, make sure it's meeting nicely with this point, so I want it to be around this kind of thickness, and I'm just going to move it over that way. Now, a cool trick to make sure everything is snapping, I'll quickly show you, so I'll just move this way. Say I want to snap this vertex here to this one. One thing you can do is G, Y, to make sure you're moving in the Y axis. If you press B, you get this kind of vertex point that you can see here, the little orange square. If I left click on that, I can now scroll to a different point, and I want this vertex, left click again, and now it's perfectly set in the middle there, or not in the middle, but perfectly lying on that face. So I can just bring this down a little bit, bring it out a bit more. I want it to be a good kind of size for the rest of the mesh, so I'll bring it up a bit, maybe out a little bit more. Yeah, that looks alright. So once again, I'm going to do that same thing to make sure it's nicely connected. So that's G, Y, B, select this guy, and then just adds it nicely there. So if I go Control A and go All Transforms, that will set my my this point down here, so I can go to mirror, and then we get the mirror up here, and I'm going to shift C to bring my cursor back down here. So I'm happy with this for the original mesh. I'm just going to change this one thing up a little bit. If I apply scale, grab all these edges here to make it curved, that's what it is like in the reference. Control B, bring it down a little bit, maybe like 4 segments in this kind of shape. Then remember to add the bevel, 2 and a small amount, shade smooth. And with this is a bit of a weird shape because we have an end gone. One thing I can try and do to fix that is grab these 2 faces and just drag them in. And yeah, that's made it look a bit better. And I'm also going to add a weighted normals, and that will fix that up. So this is our original mesh. Usually with a mesh like this, I would bring it into Substance 3D Painter to texture it, but for the sake of this tutorial, I want it all to be in Blender. So I'm just going to use materials that I can find on Polyhaven, and I will leave a link in the description to the textures I end up using. So I'm going to have a look now, see what textures I can apply, and then I will continue the recording once I have found them. I am back, and I have found 4 different textures that I'm going to use in this scene. I've got one for wood, which I'm going to add up here to like the poles and the wood kind of planks down here. I've got one metal for the top sections up here. I have a concrete for some of these sections along here, and bricks for the bottom section down here. And I might do a bit of editing with the materials as well. We'll see how they look at first. So before I can add these textures, I need to UV unwrap everything. I'm just going to quickly show you the easiest way to do that. With this first object here, just add a bevel to it real quick. It's actually going to be quite easy to unwrap it because it's quite square. It's going to look fine if we just go grab everything in edit mode and literally just go smart UV unwrap to take a look in the UV editing. It's all nice and square. It probably would look a bit better if you do it manually, but that is one way you can just do it. I probably am going to do it manually, so I'm going to get rid of this bevel, and I'll just show you how I'd go about UV unwrapping this myself. I'd firstly select, the camera's going to be over here, right, looking straight forward. So if I select, say, this edge here and go U, mark seam, then I'm just going to grab all of these points where the kind of edges are at the corners here, at the top one as well, just like that, this one here, just really quickly go through, grab all of them, and the bottom one, all sides. So if I then go U, mark seam, for now I'm going to make this a separate object because I'm just showing how to do one side and then I do the other on the other side. Then if I go U, angle based, in the UV editing space, you can see everything is kind of connected a bit more, which is going to look much better than just doing the normal smart UV unwrap, just like that. It probably won't make too much of a difference with this because it is such a kind of simple object, but for the sake of doing good UV editing, I'm gonna keep the angle based. Then I can add my bevel afterwards and it won't mess up the UV editing over on this side. So I'll do the same for the other side, but I'll probably just do it off camera because it's literally the exact same thing. With these planks here, the best way to do it, or I'll start with these ones down here. Since I'm using an array, all of these sections are gonna have the same kind of UV editing. All of these these extra objects will have the same UV editing that this one does have. So I'm first going to apply the bevel. If I hide everything else and grab this edge, this one here, I find that this is the best way to unwrap kind of planks, just to grab all of the edges that go all the way around the side, like this one, and lastly this one here. Then if I go mark seam, I can do angle based, and then it all looks pretty nice over here. And I'm going to apply the array, and what I'll do, again off camera because it's going to be very repetitive and pretty boring, is if I go into vertex mode, I can press L over this shape here, and I can literally just move the UV map around a little bit. I can even go outside of the map. Basically I just want to make it different to this one here. So again, this one I'll grab it, maybe move it down a bit. I don't want to rotate because that will make the textures kind of face the wrong way, but if I just do that with all of these guys, the textures are going to look different when it's projected onto each of these objects, and it won't just have the exact same kind of color on each one. So while I'm here, I'm just going to do all of them because it won't take too long. Just like that, this one and this one, just by moving them about slightly, they're going to look kind of different to each other. So I'll bring these back, and I'm going to do this exact same thing with these objects here. So UV unwrap one with the bevel applied, do angle based UV unwrap, and then just move all of them on the UV map over here. And then exact same thing with these planks and these logs up here. With this one I'll do now because it's going to be a bit different. I'm going to firstly apply the bevel. Oh, actually let me delete these unneeded edges. Don't have to do that, but it's going to annoy me if I don't do it, so I'm just going to do that. Also apply scale so I know that's all perfect. Apply the bevel, and now it's just going to be a thing of selecting all the edges here again, kind of similar to the plank. I won't actually need to worry about that section, so I won't add that. This guy, it's a bit annoying because the camera's going to keep going crazy because there's a lot of different objects around this one, but basically it's just going to be a thing of grabbing all these sections again. I'll speed this up because it is going to be really annoying and I'll probably be here a while. I just want to select all of these kind of edges that are in between 2 more edges, if that makes sense. So here, this one, I'm just going to quickly do this. I'll speed up the footage so you don't have to sit through and watch me doing this pretty boring task. Okay, so I think I've got all the edges selected. I wouldn't be surprised if I missed one though, because it is pretty hard to do that. To select them so kind of perfectly. What would help is if I just move the whole kind of page a lot bigger. Should have done that earlier, but I won't. Got them all now anyway. I think I did miss one there, but it's fine. Yeah, I'm just going to assume they're okay. Basically, grab all those edges. You, mark seam, grab everything, angle based, and where is this? This looks a bit weird. It's a bit stretched on this side. It's probably just the shape of the actual mesh itself, but it's not going to be the end of the world, especially up here, because the camera's not going to really see this top face too well, or this face really. If you don't like how that looks, you can always just go to a smart UV unwrap, which still look quite good, but because I've just done all that work, I'm going to keep the angle based. So that's that object done. These ones are going to be really simple. Just do one side, one kind of corner here, and then you do angle based, and it will look pretty nice. So just quickly do that now, just in case. So like that. This one, I think if I just do smart UV unwrap, it should look fine. Yeah, so the reason it kind of is going up here is because the actual shape of the mesh, obviously it goes down on this side, then goes back up. Shouldn't be a problem in the final thing though. When texturing, even if it is, it's very easy to just grab this, move it down on the y-axis so it's nice and straight. If it looks bad, I'll do that later. And also same thing as usual, if I just apply these guys, make sure you always grab all of them from one side here. So let's say this one, just press L over a vertex, G, move it about a bit. This is just going to use a normal wood texture, hover over a vertex, G, move it about a bit. Same with this one, just so they all look nice and different. This one's going to be nice and easy to UV unwrap. This one I'll quickly do now while I'm here. It's just going to be apply the bevel. I think the best way to do it, just see how smart UV unwrap looks. That actually looks fine. I think after applying the wood texture, it will look pretty nice anyway. So if it doesn't, I can always change it later and I'll show the process if I choose to do that. I'll quickly show these signs here. Just going to hide everything else, apply all of this. These actually might give a pretty good smart UV unwrap projection anyway, and yeah, they do. So as you can see all the kind of faces very nicely there. So that actually works perfectly with smart UV unwrap. The logs are going to be really easy, but I will do it now anyway. I'll hide everything else, apply the bevel, just grab. Also, I actually need to apply my scale. So if I just grab this middle edge here, go mark seam, and then the bottom one as well, because that's not going to be seen by the camera. Mark seam and angle based, you get this look, which is perfect. It's going to be a bit of a long process going through each one, moving it about slightly, but I'll do that off camera because it's going to take a little while. With these kind of underneath faces here, it's going to be quite easy. It's literally just going to be, I need to add a bevel to this one as well. It's literally just going to be a thing of applying the bevel and then selecting this one, this one, this one. Similar with the planks, just select all the edges where there's two edges opposite it, and then if you do an angle based, that'll look pretty nice. And with this top one here, it's a bit more of an interesting shape. So firstly, I'm just going to see what a smart UV unwrap looks like originally, and I'm going to add the texture to this and see how it looks, because I might not actually have to do too much work on this. It might look okay with the smart UV unwrap. So that's pretty much all I'm going to need to do for the texturing. This I'm not actually going to need to, not for the texturing, sorry, for the UV unwrapping. This one, this object up here, I'm not actually going to need to UV unwrap, and I'm going to show you why later, but that's going to be it for UV unwrapping. So I'm going to quickly finish off the rest of the mesh and then I can start with the textures. So I have now done the UV unwrapping for all these objects properly. There were a couple of other things that I ended up doing, like adding a bevel to this object and just a few little bits like that, but that was no problem. It's easily things that you would notice kind of while continuing. If the shading looks a bit weird or anything, you see it, it's just easy to go in and just quickly fix it. So now I can start with the materials. Let's go down here and I need to make them first. So I've got 4 materials. First, I'll start with the wood, and again, I'll leave the link in the description for all of these materials. And if I'm using the Node Wrangler add-on, so I can easily just apply the materials like this. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that looks okay. Obviously, I'm not going to add the wood to this object. I'm just using this object to kind of set up the materials. So for this first one, this is just the wood. That looks okay. So let's add another one for metal. Then I'm just going to do the same thing, but this time with the metal material. That's our metal texture. I think that looks quite good. I'm going to quickly go through and do it for the other 2 materials as well. Okay, so I've got my materials set up. I'm going to move this out of the way. And first, we're going to work with the wood. So I'm going to grab this guy, make sure it's on wood. Now I'm just going to grab everything else that needs to be that wood texture. By the way, for these frames here, how I UV unwrapped it was literally just using a smart UV unwrap. I think it looks pretty good. So hopefully that shouldn't be too much of a problem. I think I forgot this one as well. So I'm just going to quickly go smart UV unwrap, apply the scale, add a quick bevel. This is what I mean, how sometimes it's easy to miss stuff, but it's also very easy to go back and fix it. So that should all be fine. So it was this one, this guy here. I'm probably going to make these underneath support sections also made of wood, like these little guys here. Then just grab this last, Control L and copy materials. That looks alright. I also need to do this one as well actually. So if I select all of these, grab this guy last. Yeah, that looks okay. Now for the metal, I'll add now because that's nice and easy. I only really have it for 2 objects, I think. Go to metal material. Yep, that looks alright. Obviously it's the same material being projected very clearly on both sections. So I'm gonna go to my UV editing and I'm just gonna shift this over a bit, and bang, as you can see, it looks different now, which is already a lot better. For these signs, usually I would go into Substance 3D Painter and kind of add some wording on here and then kind of use a brush with subtract method to kind of rub a lot of it out to make it look really old, but I'm not going to do that again because this is all going to be just in Blender. So I'm just going to use the concrete material for this, but usually I would add an actual like text to it and stuff, make it look a bit nicer. Up here I think I want these guys to be concrete as well, so this guy too. And this one also needs to be wood. Now for these kind of pillars down here, I actually want them to have 2 materials. I want them to have stone bricks at the bottom, then concrete, and in the middle here I want it to be a kind of red material. So I'm going to drag this up. I'm going to quickly go to our concrete. I'm going to make a duplicate with this button over here. I'm going to go concrete, call this red. To make it red, I'm going to shift this over. I'm going to come in here and add a RGB curves, then bring this into base color. And I'm going to grab the red, just bring it up a bunch, then go to the combine channels, bring it down. I want it to be kind of like a dark red, sort of like this. I like that kind of look. So I have multiple materials I need adding on this pillar here. So I'm going to come up here. I want the concrete and I want the bricks. So I'll start with the bricks. I just want this section down here, and we'll grab this one as well. And this bit, I want that to be bricks, so I'm going to go assign. And I also need to turn this around so the bricks are actually facing the right way, but I'll do that in a minute. I could even do that in here since I'm only really adding bricks to this object down here. So if I just grab the Z, set it to 90, and now they're facing the right way. Then up here, I want this bit, and basically everything else upwards, just to be the normal concrete color like this. And again, the texturing doesn't look amazing right now. It would look a lot better if you were to do it in Substance 3D Painter, but again, for this tutorial, this is gonna have to do. So I'm gonna do the exact same thing over here really quick. I'll just skip past that. Okay, that gives us this look. Now, just to make it look a little bit different signs, I'm gonna make a duplicate of concrete, drag this over, call this concrete sign. Then let's go RGB curves again, make sure it's not in factor and it's actually in color. I'm gonna say bring this up on like blue or something to bring this down and be combined. Let's see what happens if we add a bit of green to it. I just want to make it look a bit different so we know that this usually would be a different kind of material, something like, just kind of like it being white to make it stand out a bit more, so if there was text you'd actually kind of see it a bit easier and it'd be like black text over like a white background. So this looks okay. What I do want to do is change the bricks because I think they look a bit too kind of perfect at the moment. So what I'm going to quickly do to do that is show you this quick simple trick. If I add a mix shader, then add that to my final output, bring this up here. I'm now mixing this material shader with another one so I can duplicate this. Then I'll just add the concrete to this setup up here. I'll go down and add that to my secondary material. And now it's kind of blending a bit too nicely in between the 2 materials. So I could bring this up a bit. I'm going to come out of the factor and add a noise texture. If I go Control T with the node wrangler add-on, it adds this texture coordinate and mapping nodes. And if I go here, I can change around the scale and detail and stuff to see what that's doing. Roughness I always like to bring up, and then a bit hard to tell what's happening right now because there's such like perfect colors. So I'm going to also go down to the bricks and I'm going to add a RGB curves, make sure it's in the color. And with the bricks I'm going to kind of drag it down a bunch, make them a lot darker. See what happens if I add a bit more to like the blue tint to it. Doesn't seem to be doing too much. Just play around with this a bunch till it kind of gets a different material. That's nice and different to the concrete, so I think that looks nice. And I could spend a long time just editing these textures, making them look a bit more perfect, but that makes this video really long, so I'm not going to doing that. Just going to change the scale a little bit. And the detail, kind of want to find like a good point in the middle actually, so maybe around about like 3, I think looks cool. And now it just looks a bit more kind of old and not so perfect. And I can keep stacking these on top of each other and adding like loads of just grunge and everything. But for now, I'm just going to move along because again, I don't want this video to be really long. Then up here, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to make a new material and call it gold. And then here, I'm literally just going to get kind of say like this material, maybe a bit more over to the white, something like that. Turn the roughness down, tally it up a bit, and it looks nice and perfect. It actually looks too perfect at the moment, so I'm going to duplicate this, put it into a mix shader, then make that the output and make this like a kind of darker color. And if I do the same thing as before, a noise texture, Control T, now it kind of looks a bit more like it's not just perfect gold, it looks a bit kind of old and there's dust and stuff that's kind of come up and made it look a bit more damaged. So if I change the metallic down for this texture, maybe I'll just make it pure black actually, something like that, so it's just not as perfect. So I think this looks alright. Again, I usually would make sure the textures are a bit nicer, a bit more kind of damage and everything, but again, I don't want this video to be really long, so I'm just going to leave it like this. And the last thing I want to do is kind of add some these kind of, I think it's called bunting. It's like the string with the little colorful things on it, little triangles coming off of this. So I'm going to quickly show you how I'll do that now. I'm going to add all these things to a collection, and I'll call it gate. So I know that's all nicely there. Now if I just add a simple plane, rotate it on the X by 90, scale it down, bring it up, down a little bit more. Let's say I want it connecting from this corner up to this corner. I'll just go in here, bring it nicely so it's around about here, checking this axis as well, something like this. Then I can grab this side and drag it out along the X to the other side here. Then I need to add a bunch of edge loops in the middle here, so I'm going to go something really high, like say 60. Then on each two edges I'm going to select two more, so not select, not select, 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 then leave these two, select these two, leave these two, select these two. So just doing like a kind of checker pattern. I'll speed up this footage as this is going to take a little, just take a minute here. At the end, it's not linking up perfectly, but that is fine. I'm just going to select these two. I'm going to extrude it down on the Z axis to around about, say, here. Then I want to add a edge on all of these points, so I'll quickly do this. Okay, now if I go into vertex mode and select just the bottom faces and go to individual origins, I can go S, X, scale it inwards, do the same thing with the ones above. So now I've got the actual shape ready. I just need to actually apply the textures first, so I don't need to do it later because it would be really annoying to do this later. So I'm going to select the actual flags first, and I'm going to add one here and call it blue, and one here, call it red. So I'm going to select every second one like this. And I'm going to assign the red color, and then I'm going to select the other ones here. So I'm just going to go Shift I, and I'm going to assign the blue. Then I actually need one more. I'm going to call this string, then just select these ones and assign. Now I'm going to add some really basic just colors to this for now, and then later I can make it a bit more interesting. Something like that. So that looks really kind of out of place right now with how sort of fake it looks, but that's alright, I'm going to fix it later. Firstly, I'm just going to show you what I'm actually doing. So I kind of want this to be hanging down, right? Like there's actual physics being applied on this object. So I'm going to grab these two vertexes, go over here, grab these two. Then if I go to my data properties, add a group, click assign, and if I deselect everything, select again, you can see these two vertexes are assigned. I'm just going to apply all my transforms and stuff real quick. Go to the particles or the physics tab, add a cloth. I need to come down to shape, and this will be closed already, but open it. Then pin group, you just want to select this group. If you play, it will just fall nicely downwards, and then I can like pause, and I can apply this as its own mesh, so there's no kind of physics or kind of simulation properties happening. But first, I want to make a copy of this. So let's just bring one down to like, let's say here. I'm going to move one over because I'm going to show you another thing that will look quite cool. Let's put one up here. I think that will look nice. Go into this way, make it line up nicely with the top here. Something like that. And I'm actually on this one going to remove the group here. So if I select these vertexes and deselect, or remove, sorry, and if I select, you can see we've only got these ones selected. So normally that's just going to fall straight down, right? Just like that. It's a bit kind of boring. But to go back to frame 0, what I can do is add a wind. So let's say I want the wind to be kind of, doesn't really matter where I put it, but I'm going to move it over by -90. Actually, I kind of want it facing up a little bit. So like this much. And I'm going to come over here. I'm going to turn it this way a little bit. So the wind kind of looks like it's blowing this way, right? And by default, that's not going to do much because this wind is very kind of weak. So I need to go to, is it the physics tab, make this around about say 5,000, and you'll see what that does now. So that's definitely too strong, but you can see what it's doing. I also need to apply this as shaded smooth, same with this one. You can see what it's doing, it's making the kind of, the string and everything blow this direction. So that's, again, way too strong. So let's say like 1,000, see what that looks like. Do this. And as you can see, it's kind of blowing nicely. So you can just pause it at any point you like. I kind of maybe want it like this. See, that looks quite cool, like a kind of S shape, kind of curve. This top one here, I would like to be straight down though, so I'm actually just gonna delete this for now. So for this front one, I've got now no wind in my scene. I could just press play, let it kind of fall, something like this. And then if I want to kind of apply this to like kind of keep it in place here, and go object, convert, mesh. Now I'll go back to frame 1 and play the animation, and this stays how it is now, so there's no kind of wind effect that's going to happen or anything, because in physics there is no properties happening. So that's just going to stay as it is. With this one over here, I do want to add a bit of wind, so let's add that wind back. I'm also going to make a duplicate again because I don't want to have to remake it. So let's take the cloth. Actually, I'll keep it on there for now. So I actually want to do the kind of wind effect with a piece of cloth on this side. So let's put one like here. So it's just sitting at the edge of this nicely. I'll bring it over this way. Actually, I'll put it down on this one to make sure it's kind of hugging the wall nicely. Actually, I can prefer it up there. So let me just quickly check what is actually assigned to this vertex group. Only that one, that's good. I can now add my wind. Let's go like this way, that way, bring it over here to kind of see what I'm doing more. Something like that. Let's try like 500. So actually put the wind on the wrong side. I wanted it to be over here. Turn that around. Then let's just test how that looks with this piece here. I like what it looks like kind of in, say, this position. So I'm going to apply that. Let's go convert to mesh, back to frame 1. Now we have these two kind of sections, which make the whole thing look a little bit nicer. I'm going to add one more to the front on this corner, so it's kind of a bit more symmetrical. Need to add it over this side though, so like this. Make sure it's lined up nicely on this side as well. And for my data properties, let's see what's selected. So it's only this one, so I'm actually going to remove them and select just this one. And now if I play the animation, it should kind of blow this way around, which is good. That's what I want. But I want the wind to be a little bit less strong on this one. I kind of want it to just fall down a bit and blow a little bit this way. So maybe let's try 250. And one more thing is I want it to actually kind of fall on the ground, so I'm going to quickly make a plane, scale it up really high. And in physics, I can go collision, and now it's just going to stop the bunting from like falling down here. So if I just press play, it should fall nicely on the ground. Yeah, just like that. So I kind of want it to be down around about here. That looks alright. Is it not overlapping itself or anything? Yeah, that looks fine. So object, convert, mesh. Now I can go back to frame 1, I can delete this because I don't really need the wind anymore, delete the plane floor, and then we have this look. So I just think that makes it look a bit nicer. Just some cool little effects there. I always find that hanging objects make everything look a bit nicer in 3D art. And just while I'm here, I've noticed that this object is very, very stretched. So I actually think what I did just wasn't unwrap this properly. So if I go Smart UV unwrap, yeah, that looks a lot better. So I'm going to quickly go and find some more materials that are going to look nice for this, for the rope and like the little plasticky bits hanging down. And I'll quickly come back when I've found some materials for that. Okay, so what I have done is literally just found a rope material that's seamless. So it's literally just a square image of like a rope texture that I'm gonna put along here. And then for these pieces, I've literally just found like a fabric texture that I'm just gonna mix with these colors that I think will look quite nice. So to do that, I'm just gonna go to shading. I also did a Smart UV unwrap on this one. I'm gonna do the same thing on all of them real quick, just like that. And what might even look a lot nicer is if I individually come through here and Smart UV unwrap each of these kind of flag pieces. So that'll give us way more space on the UV page over here. So I'm just going to quickly do that. Then I'm going to grab all of them, make it a little bit smaller and move it over, maybe even smaller, so I can make the rope a little bit bigger. The rope's going to be a bit awkward because it's a bit of a strange kind of shape. Just something like this is probably the best I'm going to get. Now in shading, I'm going to get my string material. I'm going to drag off and go image, texture, and I can open up my rope material. So it's literally this one here. It's just very basic looking thing. It's going to look a bit weird here, but maybe I can scale up this bit, this UV face. So I made it really, really big. I'm also going to see if I can turn it, make it a bit nicer. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look great, but yeah, it doesn't look terrible. Also, it's going to be quite far away, and it's a very kind of thin area, so you can't really see it too well anyway. And if I go to shading, I'm going to turn the roughness up, because it's obviously rope, so it's going to be quite high. I think it'd be cool to have like a bit more control over the color, so I'm going to go RGB curves. Let's say I want it to be a bit more kind of darker. I could turn down the other colors a little bit. And I also want to make it a bit more like desaturated, so I'm going to use a hue saturation value node, turn the saturation down a little bit, and maybe the value too. Something like that. And I can do the same thing with these other pieces. I'll just quickly show you how to do the other ones here, like with the fabric. So I'm just going to go image, texture, open the fabric. Then I'm going to use a RGB curves again to actually add that red back into it. So if I go with the R or the red up here, bring this up really high, make it red color, bring down the combined channels down to make it a bit darker. I think that looks alright. Might make it even more darker just because I feel like this is too bright and colorful for the rest of the object here. That's generally what I want to do. So I'm just going to copy this whole thing, go to our blue, delete that, paste, and this time I want to do the same thing but with the blue. So let's bring this up. Yeah, something like that. So again, I could spend a really long time just changing the colors out so they match with the rest of the mesh a little bit more. And I could even go find some cool like patterns and stuff to put on the front here. But again, I'm not going to do that because that'd take a really long time, and I don't want this video to be ages long. I get the feeling it's already going to be quite long, but that's okay. I'm going to quickly apply everything I did here to the other meshes, and then we'll see what it looks like. So let me quickly do that now. Okay, I have now done that with the materials, so I think they look a little bit better now. So now it's just a thing of adding lighting and a ground. So for the ground, I'm just going to add plain. I'm not going to bother with any like huge environment in the background or anything like that. Just going to put the bricks texture on there. It looks decent. Then I'm going to add a HDRI background. So if I come over here to the shading tab and go to world here, I can jump off of color and add a environment texture. I'm just going to open one of the random ones I've had from like ages ago. Then if I press Ctrl T, I can use this rotation to kind of move the actual environment around. So if I want the sun kind of pointing, say like this, it looks alright. Now I'm just going to do a really simple technique to add a kind of bit more of a background. So I'm going to add another plane, bring it underneath the first one, scale it up really high, bring this section up a bit, level this guy, get a bunch of segments, shade it smooth. That one I can give a new material and just make it like a blue, darkish blue material, so it looks a bit like a sky. Make it a bit more rough as well, and just scale it really far out this way. And I might just make the whole thing bigger again, like that. Just move it a little bit, like this. Then I think I'm going to render this out in cycles, just to get it look a bit nicer. So let's go to cycles here. Then it's just a thing of adding the camera. So I'm going to grab this guy, bring it up, just get like a nice shot of that there, something like this. I actually think a square resolution will look nicer. So if I go to output, I can change this to like 2048, can zoom in a bit more, maybe at this kind of angle. I think looks quite nice. Then I just need to put the output location, and if I just render the image, we'll get a nice looking image, and you would have already seen that at the start of the video. But that is going to be everything for this video. If you want to go further, the next thing I'd kind of recommend is making the textures look a lot nicer. If you do have Substance 3D Painter, I would highly recommend going in there, just adding a bit more like text on this bit and grunge on the kind of pillars here, and even coming in and making these kind of rope things, make them look a little bit more interesting, I think would be a really good idea with this scene. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. I hope you learned something or enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.